You are not watching this by accident. If you are sitting alone right now, if the room is quiet, if your phone is not buzzing, if it feels like the world has gone silent around you, hear me clearly. You are not abandoned. You are being set apart. And yes, that means you are chosen. Loneliness is not proof that God left you. It is often proof that He removed distractions. The very isolation you are questioning is the evidence of divine selection. God does not prepare the called in crowds. He separates them. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he was alone in a pit. Before David wore a crown, he was alone in the fields. Before Paul preached to nations, he was alone in the desert. Even Jesus was led into the wilderness alone before stepping into public ministry. Separation always comes before elevation. So if you are alone right now, it may not be punishment. It may be preparation. And I need you to lean in for this, because this is not casual encouragement. This is a spiritual confirmation. God removes certain people because they cannot go where you are going. God silences certain rooms because your ears need to hear Him clearly. God allows certain seasons of isolation because identity is forged in quiet places. The crowd celebrates gifts, but isolation builds character. If this message resonates with your spirit, don't just scroll past it. Declare in the comments, "I am chosen in the quiet." Let that be your statement of faith. And if your heart has felt distant from God lately, there's a devotional called When God is Silent in the pinned comment that was created for seasons exactly like this. When heaven feels quiet, but God is closer than ever. Now listen carefully. The enemy wants you to interpret your isolation as rejection. He whispers, if you were really valuable, people would be around you. If you were really loved, you wouldn't feel this alone. But the enemy studies patterns, and he knows something you might not yet realize. God hides what He values. Treasure is buried. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Seeds grow underground before anyone sees a harvest. You are not exposed because you are not finished. There is a sacredness to your solitude. You think you are losing connection, but in the spirit, you are gaining clarity. God is stripping away dependence on applause. He is removing the addiction to validation. He's cutting off the need to be understood by everyone, because where He is taking you, not everyone will understand you. Chosen people often walk lonely roads, not because they are unwanted, but because they are uncommon. You feel different. You think differently. You sense things others don't. That difference has made you feel isolated. But what if that difference is actually your assignment? The oil of anointing flows best where there is no competition for attention. Right now, in this very season, something invisible is happening. Your resilience is increasing. Your discernment is sharpening. Your emotional strength is expanding. God is teaching you how to stand without constant reassurance. And that is dangerous in the best way possible. Because once you learn to be anchored in God alone, you become unshakable. The reason the season feels long is because transformation is happening at a level you cannot see. Caterpillars probably think the cocoon is confinement. They don't realize it's construction, and your solitude is construction. You were not removed because you are unworthy. You were removed because you are being refined. There is a difference. If you were ordinary, the enemy wouldn't bother discouraging you. If you were average, the process wouldn't feel this intense. Pressure is proof of potential. The truth is, heaven is investing in you privately so you can carry weight publicly. So instead of asking, why am I alone? Ask, what is God building in me right now? Because chosen ones are trained in silence before they are revealed in power. And this is only the beginning of what that means for you. There is something else you must understand about being chosen. God does not separate people randomly. He separates intentionally. When Abraham was called, he had to leave his father's house. When Jacob wrestled with God, he was alone at night. When Moses encountered the burning bush, he was in the wilderness, far from Egypt, far from applause, far from familiarity. There is a divine pattern here. Isolation is not God subtracting from your life. It is God redefining it. Right now, you may feel like doors have closed, friendships shifted, conversations grew distant, invitations stopped coming. The circle became smaller. But what if that shrinking circle is divine protection? Not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you, and not everyone who understands your past is qualified to walk into your future. God will often thin the crowd before he increases the calling, because influence without depth is dangerous, and elevation without preparation is destruction. You think you are being overlooked. In reality, you are being overseen by heaven. There are battles you would have lost if certain people had remained. There are distractions that would have diluted your focus. There are attachments that would have weakened your obedience. Sometimes God removes voices, so his voice becomes unmistakable. Think about it. When was the last time you heard God clearly in chaos? Clarity thrives in quiet. Direction is born in stillness. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is not inactivity, it is positioning. You are being positioned. The loneliness you feel is recalibrating your dependence. Before this season, maybe you leaned too heavily on affirmation from others. Maybe you measured your worth by how many people checked on you. Maybe you equated popularity with purpose. But chosen ones cannot be sustained by applause. They must be sustained by calling, and calling is forged in private places. Joseph's dreams were planted publicly, but they were matured in isolation. The pit was humiliating. The prison was unfair, but both were classrooms. Every betrayal trained him, every silent night strengthened him, every delay built endurance. And when the moment of elevation came, he was ready. If God had elevated him earlier, his character might not have carried the weight. Your timing is being protected. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are being built. There is a kind of spiritual muscle that only develops when you have no one else to lean on but God. It is the muscle of trust, the muscle of patience, the muscle of discernment. Right now, you are learning how to pray when no one texts you back. You are learning how to worship when no one notices. You are learning how to stand firm without external validation. And that makes you spiritually dangerous, because once your confidence is rooted in God alone, no human rejection can uproot you. The enemy hoped isolation would make you doubt your identity. But what he doesn't understand is that isolation is actually revealing it. You are discovering who you are without the noise. You are discovering what truly matters. You are discovering how strong you really are. You are discovering that you can survive seasons you once feared. And survival is not the end goal. Strength is. God is not preparing you just to endure life. He is preparing you to influence it. But influence requires independence from approval. Look closely at your life. The people who left, did they truly align with your destiny? The opportunities that fell through, were they aligned with your assignment? The seasons that forced you inward, did they not also awaken something deeper in you? Sometimes what feels like loss is actually alignment. You are not isolated because you are insignificant. You are isolated because you are intentional. There is an anointing forming in your quiet. There is a focus sharpening in your stillness. There is a boldness building in your private battles, and soon, not by your striving, not by your forcing, but by divine timing, what was built in secret will be revealed in strength. But first, you must embrace the process, because chosen ones are not discovered in crowds. They are developed in solitude. There is a reason this season feels heavier than you expected. When God chooses someone, he doesn't simply bless them, he entrusts them. And entrustment requires transformation. You are not just being comforted in your loneliness, you are being calibrated. Think about David. Before he stood before Goliath, he stood alone with lions and bears. No audience, no applause, no recognition, just him, the wilderness, and responsibility. Those hidden battles were not random, they were rehearsals. The stone that killed Goliath was sharpened in isolation, and you, right now, are in your wilderness rehearsal. The world may not see what you're fighting. People may not understand the mental battles, the spiritual attacks, the nights when doubt tries to creep in, but heaven sees it, and heaven is measuring growth, not popularity. Isolation exposes what crowds conceal. When you're alone, you see your fears clearly. When you're alone, your insecurities surface. When you're alone, your unresolved questions echo louder. But this is not to break you. It is to purify you, because chosen ones cannot afford hidden fractures. God will surface what needs healing before he releases you into influence. You thought this season was about being lonely. It's actually about being whole. There are habits being broken right now. There are emotional dependencies dissolving. There are thought patterns being challenged. You are being stripped of what cannot survive your next level, and stripping is uncomfortable, but pruning produces fruit. Jesus said in John 15 that every branch that bears fruit is pruned so it can bear more. Not cut off, no, pruned. Pruning feels like loss, but it is strategic reduction for greater multiplication. You are not being cut off, you are being cut back. There is a difference. If you were not meant for increase, there would be no need for pruning. The reason this isolation feels targeted is because it is, not by the enemy alone, but by God's design. You are being refined in fire that others don't see. Gold does not fear fire because fire reveals its purity. And if the fire is intense, it means the material is valuable. You have asked God for purpose. You have prayed for impact. You have desired clarity, but clarity requires silence. Impact requires endurance. Purpose requires identity. And identity is discovered when everything else is stripped away. Right now, God is asking you one question in this season of solitude. If I am all you have, am I enough? That question shapes chosen ones. Because if God becomes enough in your isolation, then nothing can destabilize you in your elevation. Imagine stepping into influence without craving approval. Imagine leading without fearing rejection. Imagine succeeding without losing humility. That is what this season is building. The loneliness is not permanent. It is preparatory. And here's what most people misunderstand. Chosen does not mean exempt from struggle. It means entrusted with responsibility. You are being entrusted with a level of spiritual maturity that requires separation. There are conversations you would be having right now if you were meant to stay small. There are environments you would still fit into if you were meant to remain average. But you don't fit anymore, and that discomfort is confirmation. When eagles grow, they outgrow the nest. Staying would suffocate them. You are not losing connection, you are outgrowing confinement. And when the time comes, and it will come, the same solitude that felt suffocating will become the reason you can soar without fear, because you will know who you are, not because people told you, but because God formed you in secret. What you feel right now is not the end of something, it is the threshold of something greater. You thought this season was about surviving loneliness, but it has been about discovering authority. Authority is not given to those who need constant reassurance. It is given to those who have learned to stand when no one is clapping. And look at you, you are still here. After the silence, after the confusion, after the people who slowly drifted away, after the prayers that seemed delayed, you are still standing. That is not weakness, that is evidence. God does not choose the loudest in the room. He chooses the surrendered. He chooses the ones willing to walk through seasons others would run from. He chooses the ones who stay faithful in hidden places. You have been faithful in the quiet, and heaven has taken note. There are things breaking off of you in this season. Fear of abandonment, fear of insignificance, fear of being unseen. Those fears cannot follow you where you are going, because where you are going requires boldness. You will not always feel this alone, but you will always remember this season. And when influence increases, when responsibility grows, when doors open that once seemed impossible, you will not be intoxicated by applause. Why? Because you learned contentment in solitude. You learned discipline without supervision. You learned prayer without pressure. You learned obedience without spectators. That is rare, and rare is always refined. If you are watching this alone, hear this final truth clearly. God isolates his chosen ones not to diminish them, but to define them. He separates to sanctify. He removes to reveal. He silences to strengthen. The same God who walked with Joseph in prison is walking with you in this room. The same God who strengthened Elijah in the cave is strengthening you in this moment. The same Spirit that sustained Jesus in the wilderness is sustaining you right now. You are not behind, you are being built. And when the building is complete, when the foundation is solid, when the character is anchored, when the identity is secure, doors will open that no human effort could force. You won't have to beg for visibility. You will carry presence. You won't have to chase validation. You will walk in authority. And the very people who overlooked you will recognize the strength that solitude produced. So stop interpreting your isolation as rejection. Start seeing it as selection. You are chosen, not because you are perfect, but because you are willing. Not because you are popular, but because you are prepared. Not because you were surrounded, but because you endured. Now, before you leave, seal this in your spirit. Comment this: my isolation is preparation. Let it be your declaration of faith. Let it be your reminder when the room feels quiet again. If this message confirmed something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who feels alone right now. Like this video, so more people who are questioning their season can find clarity. And if you haven't already, subscribe and become part of this growing community of believers walking boldly in their calling. If this channel has been strengthening your faith, you can also become a member for deeper support or use Super Thanks to help us continue producing messages like this. Every act of support helps spread encouragement to someone who may be on the edge of giving up. Thank you for staying until the end. You were not meant to blend in. You were meant to be built in secret and revealed in strength. Remember this the next time silence surrounds you. Heaven is not quiet because it forgot you. Heaven is quiet because it is working on you. Keep walking with God.